Send your best warrior.
Nicht messen.
Perdu, jouet. Con la legge! Зөөгч харлаа. Tanked wing. Tanked wing. Явж тусна.
I don't need to say that it saves itself.
Just some coverage there, Fox. Down in Minneapolis, we'll continue to check in with them. In Minneapolis right now, Senator Amy Klobuchar is speaking right now to reporters.
I didn't do anything. It's just a different mic.
When she got out the church, she had to tell the dad.
My headset to charge the controller.
As a 12-year-old. And so you think as parents of that glorious week where you drop your children off for school and they have a new teacher and they're all excited, that's what's going on with these kids. And they're at an all-school mass, tiny little kids down to, kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. The little ones are in with the big ones. And then this happened. And I really appreciated the
Ruining my life again. Oh yeah, I'm pretty good at it. Don't you worry.
But and getting to the bottom of the motives and trying to do something about all these guns, that is all important without hurting legal gun owners at all. But today is a day of thinking of this church family and the surrounding community, because the individuals.
Why do we have to own these?
The families that are waiting outside operating rooms right now, or in the hospital. The best news I had today was when the police chief announced that they believe all the other kids will survive. But that still leaves of 8 and a 10-year-old families who dropped their kids off that day thinking this was a beautiful day. Maybe they're going to the fair this weekend, hanging out as a family. And they'll never see their kids alive again. So that's the first. But the fact that
you did something with that. No, I blame it on you.
And that these kids survived. What? They're so little to be shot like
my
that.
change.
And the fact that they got under the pews, and that there's actually safety plans put in place that I think really saved a lot of lives. And I think we're also going to hear about the heroism of the church, heroism of the teachers, and the people that were there today.
I gave you a change.
Because in all of this hate,
you wanted to wrestle me again.
You are. And there's people that stand up for their neighbors. Yeah,
because I've been talking about that a lot.
You're not going to be able to fix the stand.
Somebody bring it up.
I know where it is. I'll give it to him. He can't fix it.
There's a kid who lives down the street.
It is big.
With a radio flyer full of, water and soda. And, it's just kind of like seeing this community come together. To me, has been one of the most wonder what you've seen.
Yeah, it has always been a close-knit neighborhood, and it's this mixture. I mean, look at this. The school is right next to houses, and the houses are right next to stores. And they have this incredible sense of community between the schools. There's other schools here. There's Catholic school. There's public school. And I don't think that this madman is going to destroy that part of this neighborhood. But these kids that witnessed that shooting, that's going to be with them forever. And I know their families are going to have to be doing a lot of work with them. So all we can do as a community is do everything that we can support them. Okay.
Shut the fuck. Is he coming?
Klobuchar reacting to this tragedy that played out earlier today in that school church. All right, we will take a 2-minute break on Live Now from Fox. We will be back with more in just moments on Live Now from
Gail me or not?
Last year, I broke my ankle and I ended up having issues with balance and stability. So I said, what else could I was going to have to go and I continued over the last 6 months. Everybody who walks in this facility has their very own individualized program. So he's exceptional. He's unique. You can feel confident with him. And I feel very successful that I am getting stronger every day.
Even when U.S. women's national team forward Mallory Swanson isn't on the field, she always makes the perfect play. With a Bank of America customized cash rewards Visa card, she earns 6% cash back in the category of her choice with online shopping for the first year from account opening. So wherever life takes you, get the card that will
I guess
saving the day.
Why?
Well, she's maybe it.
Then we gotta open the door. Okay, then you're here and remember what you're doing. I just want to get out of the house, please.
Guess I've been in here a while.
He's gone. Yeah, just let us pick.
Thanks.
Yeah, did you know? Sorry.
Tell me what you don't like about yourself.
Never get white stuff on anything. Yeah.
Man, that's dumb, babe. No way.
Hey, Johnny M. Hey, Gary Bear. You still coming to my dog's birthday party? I would, but I have to sell my car.
Hi, man. Caleb,
We'll just sell it to Carvana.
We love you,
Great
Caleb.
offer is 100% online, no picking up. You told me about Carvana. Did I? And isn't that your car? I mean, that could be anybody's car. Okay, fine, I sold it to Carvana. Thank you. Whoa. So you'll come? I just sold my car. What are we gonna walk? Sell your car to Carvana today. Back at 2 Live now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page. Thanks again for joining us as we continue to bring you some of the biggest story right here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, that is the tragedy out in Minneapolis, the school shooting where 2 young school children killed, an 8 and a 10-year-old, and learned that 17 others injured. We did learn a little bit ago from the police chief of Minneapolis all of the shooting victims now expected to survive that were taken to the hospital, even the ones in critical condition. We'll now go back out to more of the coverage, Fox 9 in Minneapolis. Let's listen in.
Practice before, and clearly the reason is for why that occurred is because they do that in the school.
Right.
There was never a notion that they would have to go through this in their own church. So he talks about that, and it's just it really takes you to the scene. Let's listen to 10-year-old Weston.
Watch.
What did you get to on this happened?
Well, we just got into mass. It was like 3 minutes after. It was very scary. It was like my friend got shot in the back. He's in the hospital right now. It was super scary because like we've never practiced it in the church. We've only practiced it in the main school. So we really didn't know what to do. We just got into the pews and he shot through the stained glass windows. Yeah.
Did you ever see him?
My friend like ran, someone helped him like run out. He saw him. He was wearing all black and he had a ski mask on.
So just shot through the windows and never came inside?
I don't think so. I mean, I was down, so I didn't really look up. I mean, he got shot through the stained glass windows, so they're probably ruined. And
But you have friends that got hit by bullets?
yeah, my best friend did.
Have you heard of him? What happened with him? Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be okay. And then my friend, he was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a neck on your neck?
Yeah, I don't even know what it's from. It kind of looks like debris or something.
That came from during this?
Yeah.
You seem pretty put together and that's your
Yeah, I'm just like confused kinda, because I never thought it would happen and it just happened, so like, just kind of crazy. And I don't really know.
Yeah, so if you ever wonder what's going to go through that the eyes and the feelings of a young child, that is it right there.
I think confusion is probably the best word that he used because these kids don't have enough life experience to understand or put this all together. And so many of them are just, I imagine, just in a state of shock and confusion because it all happens so fast. We also have a statement from the mother of an 8th grader who was shot and injured this morning at Annunciation Catholic Church. And she sent a lengthy statement, Danielle Gunter, saying that, their hearts are shattered, not only for their child, but for everybody who was harmed. We grieve and we pray for those others who were shot, for their families, and for those who lost loved ones. And as for the first responders, and this is it's a really big part of the statement, who raced into danger for others, for us. We thank them all. Our son shared with us that an MPD officer really helped him. He said the officer rendered aid, then stayed with him, hugged him, reassured him, prayed with him, and then put him in the ambulance to head for the hospital. We ask for leaders to place armed security at schools to prevent another tragedy like this. This is from that mother, Danielle. Again, we feel the pain, the anger, the confusion, and the searing reality that our lives will never be the same, yet we still have our child. Unlike others, we are blessed to hold on to him. We will help him rebuild his life, his trust, and his confidence.
Some of that was resonated too by the principal at Annunciation Catholic Church, Matt DeBoer. He spoke rather emotionally in this press conference, this latest press conference, sort of echoing some of those thoughts about the actions of teachers and students. Let's listen to him.
Good afternoon, everyone. To any of our students and families and staff watching right now, I love you. You're so brave, and I'm so sorry this happened to us today. Within seconds of this situation beginning, our teachers were heroes. Children were ducked down. Adults were protecting children. Older children were protecting younger children. And as we heard earlier, it could have been significantly worse without their heroic action. This is a nightmare, but we call our staff the dream team. And we will recover from this. We will rebuild from this. When we planned for this school year, we intentionally chose a theme from the prophet Jeremiah chapter 29, a future filled with hope. There's nothing about today that can fill us with hope. We, as a community, have a responsibility to make sure that no child, no parent, no teacher ever has to experience what we've experienced today, ever again. I need everybody to commit those words to your speech patterns, never again. We lost 2 angels today. Please continue to pray for those still receiving care. We can't change the past, but we can do something about the future. There's an African proverb that says, when you pray, move your feet. So I beg you, I ask you to please pray, but don't stop with your words. Let's make a difference and support this community, these children, these families, these teachers. Never again can we let this happen. I love you, Annunciation family. We're with you, and we will be stronger when this is done.
Principal Matt DeBoer at Annunciation Catholic School, Amy Huckert and Simone Woolridge now stepping in as we continue our team coverage here of this deadly shooting at a Catholic church in Minneapolis while school children and other parishioners were having mass. Simone had an interview earlier in the morning, and I don't know if many people got a chance to see it. We asked Jillian Peterson to come back from the Violence Prevention Project. They used data to study shootings in houses of worship, in schools. And Jillian, if you're there, I know we just have a couple of minutes with you, but this is the first time you were telling us earlier that you can remember that these two intersected like this. Is Jillian able to hear us, Ryan? Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, earlier today, she did kind of hit on the significance of having, a church and a school together to where. So this is what they normally do, right? They try to track some of these basically statistics from the schools, and maybe we can bring Jillian in so she can kind of explain a little bit about what they do at the Violence Prevention Project. Jillian, are you able to hear us right now?
Okay, sorry.
Maybe we'll try to get her back.
Thank you. Well, so
this is very interesting.
Really interesting. We'll try to get her back in a little while, but she did have some really interesting things to say. And they specifically look at these cases from a data-driven approach, and also talking to families and those who have. Okay, all right. We're going to try one more time here. Jillian, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you.
Thank you. I know we just have a couple of minutes with you. We were just setting up kind of the work that you do, and the fact that you told us earlier this is the first time you can remember studying these since the year 2000, each and every one where a house of worship and a school shooting intersected.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some previous cases at private schools that are affiliated with the church, but not one where the school children are actually inside of the church at the time the mass shooting occurs. And Jillian, just for our new viewers who maybe weren't joining us when we were chatting earlier today, just talk to us a little bit about what you do, because you guys do, travel across the country to study some of these things. Yeah, we've been tracking every mass shooting that's occurred in the United States since 1966. And then we also track any homicide that occurs at a K-12 school or at a house of worship since the year 2000. We code them on hundreds of different variables. We track the perpetrators, the victims, the guns. We conduct interviews of people who knew the perpetrators and the victims. And the goal is to look for patterns in the data that can help us prevent this from happening moving forward.
Julian, can you speak to the vulnerability of anyone, in this case, children, some elderly worshipers who are in a chapel, in a house of worship setting?
Yeah, houses of worship are one of the hardest locations because by design, they are welcoming. They want to bring people in. They want to provide sanctuary. You are welcome in that space. They don't screen. They don't, ask what you're carrying. That's kind of their purpose. And so when something like this happens in those spaces, it's particularly heartbreaking. And those spaces are quite vulnerable. We've been seeing an increase in shootings occurring in houses of worship over the last few years.
And I'm also interested to know, Julian, is there any way, with that being said, is there any way through your research and through some of this data where you are able to kind of help find out how to prevent, some of these unfortunate events from happening?
Yeah, a lot of what we focus on is the warning signs prior. So who knew what? Perpetrators often tell people their plans. They post things on social media, which seems to be the case here. People around them notice their behavior is changing and is different. They're often actively suicidal, and then they're able to get their hands on guns. So understanding how each of those pieces happens, that's how you understand where prevention could have happened. So we'll see as details emerge about this case, sort of what could have gone differently.
All right. Dr. Peterson, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Again, Violence Prevention Project through Hamlin. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to chatting with you again as we learn more details.
You want to reset?
We definitely should. Let's see, about 9 a.m. is when we were on the air initially, and since then, we've had a lot of information. Chief Brian O'Hara talks about the transparency that they have shown, and we really need to acknowledge that just as a journalist, they have struck a really good balance between giving us information and doing that in a way that respects the victims and the environment and the circumstance, but also in an effort to be transparent, to just let people know what's going on. But we were able to get information right away. So we can, it's been trickling in throughout the day, and people are kind of in and out of the coverage. So let's just, reset a little bit.
I think we could reset just a little bit. I know we've been on air.
Windows of a church as students were celebrating Mass. Police say 2 children are now dead. They're just 8 and 10 years old. The police chief also saying that all remaining 17 victims are expected to survive. 14 of them are children. Their ages range from 6 years old to 15. Take a listen to this as one of the students describes these terrifying moments.
We went to the gym, and then the doors locked just to make sure he didn't come. And we waited in the gym for more news, and everyone was okay. For most people.
Where were you?
My friend got hit in the back.
Did you go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get reunited with your parents?
Yeah, my mom was waiting outside of the church when it happened.
Yeah. What was it like seeing her?
I was super happy because, I was scared that I wasn't going to see her. Because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock.
Was it behind you where it was happening, or in front of you?
It was, right beside me. I was, 2 seats away from the stained glass windows. So they were, the shots were, right next to me.
It's scary.
Yeah.
You went under the pew after that happened?
Yeah.
Is that what everyone tried to do?
I think I got, gunpowder on my neck.
It's just a horrifying description there from a 10-year-old little boy. ABC News investigative reporter Olivia Rubin is following the latest for us now. Olivia, we heard authorities to say earlier today they don't have a motive yet, but they have started their investigation. However, the FBI director, Kash Patel, it's pretty clear. He's saying the shooting is being investigated as domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. So what more do we know, Olivia?
Well, Kana, there seems to be a bit of a discrepancy here between federal law enforcement and local law enforcement. As you said, Kash Patel was quite clear that this was a hate crime targeting Catholics, but at the local level, we've heard all day from the police chief, the Minneapolis PD chief there, who was asked specifically about this, whether it was a hate crime, and he wouldn't say that it was. They were very clear on the ground there that they don't yet know what the motive is for this attack, and therefore it would be too early to call it a hate crime. So clearly a bit of a disagreement here between at the federal level and at the local level in terms of motive. There is a couple angles they have sort of indicated that they are looking into here, specifically any connection to the church. Of course, there have been reports that there was some sort of connection, but again, law enforcement officials not yet ready to go there yet, saying it's something they are looking at, but that they cannot confirm. Of course, there's also the social media writings, the YouTube writings that they discussed, that YouTube video that was posted online full of that hateful rhetoric, drawings of guns, drawings, Kana, of a church with pews, that it sort of shows exactly that the shooter knew what they were going to do. They are saying, though, that as of this stage, they do believe this shooter was acting alone. Kana, take a listen.
At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. There is no indication of other suspects directly involved in carrying out this attack. Our investigators are working with other agencies in the process of executing 4 search warrants. One is for the church itself, where this crime occurred. The other 3 are residences nearby in the metro that are related to this shooter.
They did go on to add, Kana, that they recovered multiple other firearms from those locations on top of the 3 that we already know the shooter was armed with when they went to this church this morning, Kana.
Right. They described him as being armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol that were all lawfully purchased, and noting that they were purchased recently there, Olivia. And it's interesting when you look into this YouTube post. Let's dig into that a bit, because a couple things stand out to us. Obviously, the fact that authorities say that it was timed, it had a timed release. And so now they're going into that post, as well as how you heard from Aaron Katersky kind of describing what was written on some of this weaponry in that post, Olivia.
Definitely, and that all indicates that this was something that was significantly planned, Kana. We've also heard a lot about how this sort of showed a fascination with other school shooters. One of the things sources said was written in that notebook was the name of a band that the Columbine shooters had been obsessed with themselves. That band, of course, has denounced previously any sort of violence, but certainly we're getting the portrait of an individual that was having some sort of fascination with other school shooters, and was so, I guess, deeply familiar with them that they knew the band that they also in Columbine had admired, which is sort of a sick level of detail for this individual to know. So certainly it's the YouTube aspects, as we've heard there. It's the different homes that are being searched. It's the social media accounts. And certainly you'd have to think that they're talking to family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, former students, anyone that knows this individual. You know, we on the investigative team have dug into school shooters and suspected mass shooters for years. I have done this work myself, tracing the origins of an individual like this and what drives them. Oftentimes, when I've spoken to suspects' previous family members and fellow students and classmates, a lot of times they don't know. And this is something that happens quietly. You know, I've heard individuals described as likable but quiet and sort of lost touch with them. So again, the work that we do in investigating these individuals is quite similar to the work that law enforcement officials do. And it's all but likely that right now they are trying to find anyone who knew this suspect, who had recently spoken to this individual, to say why was this person drawn to open fire at children inside of a church, Kana.
Inside of a church, what red flags were possibly, Miss Olivia Rubin? Our thanks to you. Also, our ABC News Justice and Homeland Security reporter Jack Date, along with ABC News Perry Russum, joining me now for more on this. So, Jack, let's talk a little bit about the discrepancy here that Olivia laid out. Authorities saying, look, they don't have a motive right now. They are just beginning this investigation, clearly calling it a deliberate act of violence. But FBI Director Kash Kash Patel taking it a step further, saying it's being investigated as domestic terrorism and a hate crime against Catholics.
Well, clearly, the police chief said in this last briefing that he's been working closely with the FBI and their law enforcement partners at the federal level, and they're not foreclosing the possibility that that's the case, but they want to see where the evidence leads. Right now, they're looking at this video and they're looking at other potential writings or other materials left behind by this person. But and having seen and reviewed some of this video, it's filled with like a cornucopia of hate. It's just it's anti-Semitic, anti-Indian. It has numerous things that are disturbing and troubling. There's the writings, the adornments on the rifles, writing the names of shooters, writing the names of the President Trump's name appears on it, and others, many others, on several firearms. Is something they're going to have to try to piece together and better understand. It points in several directions, and so I think the investigators should methodically go through this stuff to see if there's a thread here that they can make sense of, or is this just the work of a deeply disturbed individual?
Unless you start to pull at that thread, you have to wonder what other videos or online footprint they come across. Perry, what are we hearing from the White House at this time?
Yeah, as we learn more about this investigation, about this mass shooting, we last heard from President Trump about 5 hours ago in a very short statement that he released on Truth Social, where he called this a tragic shooting and a terrible situation. We had a phone call today with Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, where he expressed his condolences. In the last hour or so, we heard from his predecessor, former President Joe Biden, who released a message on X saying, in part, no parent should ever have to bury their child. There are simply no words to adequately mark such a horrific and painful moment. We know that President Trump has ordered flags to be lowered at half-staff. What you're looking at here is the White House residence. There are three main American flags in the White House. You have the White House residence, the North Lawn, and lawn. President Trump also signed.